Hi, I'm Ed. Today we're going to find out why a Frigidaire refrigerator isn't cooling in the refrigerator section. This could be caused by an airflow issue. While there are a couple different things that can cause airflow problems, we're going to focus on the damper motor, thermistor, and control board. Let's go through each step together so you can make this repair yourself. Before we get started, make sure to hit those like and subscribe buttons so you can get notified when we post new videos. With over 2 million products in stock and the know-how to help you do it yourself, we are AppliancePartsPros.com. Let's get our tools together. Today we'll need a 1/4-inch nut driver, a multimeter, and maybe some tape. And please remember that safety comes first. Always disconnect your refrigerator by unplugging it or switching the breaker off, as well as turning off its water supply before doing any work on it. The first thing we're going to check is the control board, which can be a common reason why the damper motor isn't running. The board supplies power to the damper motor, and if the board is faulty, then it won't send the right amount of voltage to the motor. To access the control board, open the refrigerator door and take out the filter. At the back of the refrigerator at the top, you should see a 1/4-inch screw on the right side behind where the filter is located. Remove this screw, then drop the cover down. There will be 2 1/4-inch screws on the corner of the left side that are recessed in. Remove both of them. We need to remove the 3 1/4-inch screws under the control panel. These will be recessed into the panel. Next, remove the 1/4-inch screw under the cover at the back of where the filter would be. Once all the screws have been removed, you should be able to drop the control housing down so you can access the control board. You'll need to remove this clear plastic piece, which is called a light pipe. Then pull the front of the control housing to release the control board. We have the power on during disassembly, so you can see what we are doing, but you should have it unplugged when you do it yourself. Before we test the board, we need to plug the fridge back in or switch the breaker back on. We'll be checking live voltage during this test, so please remember to be very careful here. Always take extreme care when checking live voltage so you can protect yourself from electrical shock, which has the potential to cause serious injuries. Please don't ever test live voltage if you're uncomfortable using a multimeter. If you're uncomfortable dealing with live voltage, please stop and call someone who can do this testing for you. Once you're ready, we can test the control board for AC voltage. First, find the P1 connector on the board, then find the red wire with a black stripe and the light blue wire. Next, place one lead on the red wire with the black stripe and the other lead on the light blue wire. You should get 120 volts AC here. If there's 120 volts AC, then we need to check the damper motor. If you don't get 120 volts AC at the control board, then you'll need to check the thermistor. If the thermistor is good, then that means the control board is faulty and needs to be replaced. Since we already have the control panel down and have access to the thermistor, we'll go ahead and check it next. We need to test the refrigerator thermistor for resistance. Just set your multimeter to the resistance setting, which looks like an upside-down horseshoe. Then disconnect the thermistor harness and place 1 meter lead into one side of the connector, then one on the other side. At room temperature, you should have a resistance reading of 10 ohms. If the resistance is bad, then the thermistor needs to be replaced. If the resistance is good, then the thermistor is good and something else is causing the problem. Once you're done testing, be sure to plug the thermistor back in. A failing damper can also cause the refrigerator to be warmer in the fridge section. If it's not running, then we need to figure out why. Since we have the control panel already removed, you can start testing the damper. We need to test the damper motor for AC voltage, so we need the fridge plugged in and turned on. Just a reminder to be very careful when testing for voltage. First, you'll need to set your multimeter to volts AC and find the red wire with a black stripe and the light blue wire on the damper motor. See where they connect to the damper, and this will be your testing point. Then put one lead on the terminal of the blue wire and the other on the terminal of the red with black stripe. Now turn the power off to the unit, then turn the power back on. The damper motor should receive 120 volts AC when the fridge is powered back on. If there isn't 120 volts AC, then test each of the switches to make sure that there's continuity on them. The button on the switch needs to be pushed in to get continuity. If you don't get continuity, then the damper needs to be replaced. If there's 120 volts AC to the damper motor but the damper isn't opening, then you have a bad damper motor that needs to be replaced. As you can see here, we do have 120 volts AC at the damper motor, but our damper isn't running, so it needs to be replaced. To remove the damper motor, we need to disconnect the wire connector at the top of the refrigerator and lower the control housing. Then disconnect the wires from the damper and pull the damper off the control housing. It's glued into place, so it can be a little difficult to get removed. You also need to remove the thermistor to the freezer from the damper. To remove the housing, slide it out of these two keyed holes in the front housing. Once you got the damper removed, make sure you clean any of the residual glue from the housing. This stuff is really sticky, but we need to get it all off so that the new one can mount correctly. To reinstall the damper, you'll need to reattach the thermistor for the freezer to the damper. Once this is done, you'll place the damper back on the control housing and press on it firmly to make sure the glue sticks. After it's firmly stuck on, place the housing back in place in the fridge and reconnect the wiring. Make sure to tuck the wiring in to make sure it doesn't get pinched when you screw it back on. Before pushing the housing all the way up, be sure that the thermistor is tucked into the slot on the left side. Then reinsert the damper housing into the front housing and slide it over. To reassemble, first plug the control board back in. Then slide the control board back into place and lock it into the tabs. Then reinstall the light pipe. We need to put the control housing back on the ceiling and install the 3/4 inch screws that hold the housing in place. Then install the 2/4 inch screws in the side panel at the upper left hand side. Install a single 1/4 inch screw behind the water filter. Now you can put the cover back over the tubing, and once you install the 1/4 inch screw that holds it in place, you're done. Don't forget to plug your fridge back in or flip the circuit breaker back on, as well as turning the water back on. Since we found the faulty part, our next stop is appliancepartspros.com so we can get a replacement. Most orders arrive in just a few days, and we have many more videos to walk you through the installation process. Make sure to let us know how the repair went in the comments. If you like this video, let us know by hitting those like and subscribe buttons. Thanks for your support, and we'll see you next time.